All right, thanks a lot. Good morning, everyone. So, yeah, I guess in 2025, it wouldn't be an event without somebody talking about AI, right? So, fortunately, we've reached that point where that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Now, if I can go ahead. So, I guess I've done this presentation a few times, and I think what I try to do here is showcase how we actually use AI or deliver that in the products for our customers to use it. And people tend to like it because it gets them thinking about how they can actually solve some of their own problems. So it's not you're necessarily going to run out and buy exactly the products they'll show, but more what are some of the problems you have within your own businesses, especially where you reach resource challenges and things that you can further automate, and then how are we doing that, and it gets you some ideas of how to scale up the business further. Before I go there, maybe just a little bit of background how we got here. So for myself, Robert May, I've been with Fortinet since 2004, so a long, long time. I've met Foreseeson several times over the years, of course. And we've worked together on a lot of different projects. When we started the company, the vision from the CEO was to really consolidate networking and security. And what this meant was, at the time, you had separate companies building routers or switches or firewalls as three separate things that were managed by three separate operations teams. And the vision at the beginning was to converge and consolidate those together, which obviously simplifies a lot of things. But one of the challenges was we needed to keep everything fast, right? Like the products had to be able to send the traffic and secure it very, very fast. And so this is where we had to start building our own hardware and our own ASICs and doing our own design. And so, of course, working with partners like Foreseeson was what enabled us to, build those early products and then continue to scale and refine and grow the company very, very quickly. And obviously, in the last 25 years, we've grown alongside Foreseeson and had a lot of success in continuing to realize that vision. Um, you know, Over the years, of course, there's a lot of different products. There were some acquisitions that were mentioned earlier, and we, obviously put a lot of different things in the market. And even back in 2000 when we started, there was no such thing as cloud, right? This is something that came many years later. Of course, there was the internet and there was, websites and things, but there wasn't Amazon. There wasn't these, notion of having all of the data stored in the cloud. And so as we continue to expand and grow, one of the things that happened is along the way is a lot of the operations became very, very difficult. And so around 2016 was when we started to introduce this, initial automation that we call the security fabric. And this is the integration between many products and enabling things to be automated and hooked together. So as I'm logged into one product, I actually can see all the data from everywhere in the network, and I can take actions from that single place. And that was the early days, and now when you look at AI, where it's gotten to now something else, an automated tool like Gen AI is able to bring that visibility, summarize it for less technical people, and actually help them to take action. So it's really grown from that initial building blocks all the way to where we are today. Another thing usually like always to mention, because I'm Canadian, I was born in Ontario, but I grew up in BC, right, on Vancouver Island. And when I started in Fortinet, we were a small office in Metrotown, right, with a couple dozen people. And we've obviously grown to now almost 2,000 people in BC. And we're, a lot of basically the engineering started here, even though we're a Silicon Valley company. In terms of headquarters, all the engineering started here. And Douglas was talking earlier. This includes the FortiGuard threat research and all of the other security research that we do. We don't acquire this or acquire and repackage technology a lot of times. We have done strategic acquisitions, but a lot of times this fits together with our technology. And another area that we invest in a lot in Canada is around training. Our training institute is based here. We work with a lot of the universities, both in BC and across the country, in terms of providing products for them to use in their courses, as well as the training materials and other things. So a lot of investment in Canada. We also, acquire our own, not just office space, but data centers within Canada, because there's obviously a big push around data sovereignty and having, customers' data that needs to be stored in the cloud. They want to know that it's stored in country. And so a lot of initiatives that we do within Canada as well to support the local economies and the local businesses. Um, from the beginning, there was really three missions that we kind of set forth. Number one was to be the best in cybersecurity research, and this goes to what I mentioned earlier with Douglas's team in Burnaby in doing the research starting from just antivirus in the early days, right? And this scales all the way to all the different vulnerabilities and other attacks that you see happening on a day-to-day basis. A lot of these are done by, threat actors, nation states, and automated tools in the wild. The second area was performance, and this is where I mentioned like the ASIC technology. This is something that we, from the beginning, we wanted to deliver the fastest firewall. And over the years, of course, we consolidate more features and functions in there, and also the explosion of all the different devices and users that are using them and the amount of data that they're consuming. So over the years, we have to continue to refine and optimize this over and over and over, and we're at, the 8th generation of this ASIC that we use to power the firewalls. The third area is automation, and this started from the security fabric I mentioned, but also now goes into AI and how we're going to use or how we use AI to help our customers to automate further. And these three missions have really been realized across a large product portfolio. These are kind of some of the top key areas that go into multiple of the products. The security part, having a single OS that powers many products, the ASIC technology, and of course the automation. And the last piece that maybe to touch on before I go to the AI part is really around the cloud and the data center infrastructure. And this is something that's a bit of a differentiator for Fortinet. We do acquire our own data centers globally, and this powers many different things. It powers the security updates that we push down to all the devices to help companies secure their environments. It delivers products and services like SASE, where you've got remote users that need to connect back into their data center or secure their access to their cloud applications and data. And obviously this needs to be managed by the enterprises with that same security policy. And so it's handling a lot of the user traffic that's being secured. So if you're at home or you're traveling, it's something that's able to now you're basically continuously connected and able to do work as effectively as possible without the traditional VPN. And then, when we look even a bit further, there's obviously next generation of services to come that are for securing communications, for securing more data storage. And when we talk about AI, of course, this is something where we're delivering, the AI LLM capabilities to the products and to the users. And this needs to be something which is, first of all, secured, but also it's something that customers care that the data sovereignty, right? Where is that data being stored, if there is data? And this is something where we've invested in many different countries in order to provide that assurance, as well as the visibility for those customers. Now, a little bit about AI before I switch to the demo portion. Within Fortinet, I think one of the big things to note is that this isn't something that we've just done in the last 2 or 3 years since ChatGPT kind of came into the market, right? As I mentioned, we've been developing our own security research from the beginning. Now, the first few years, of course, this was able to be done by human analysts and automated scripting and things, but quickly in the early 2000s, you reach a point where the number of threats and samples and even websites and IP addresses and everything else exploded to the point where there was no way that humans obviously can do this, and there was even scripting challenges where it became impossible. And so at that point, we started developing machine learning tools to analyze the samples from a machine learning perspective. And so over the last 15 years, we've really invested a lot there with our own R&D resources, and this is now what actually complements a lot of the Gen AI tools that you see today. So there's a lot of things that go into that. We have a huge patent portfolio just basically coming from this research and development that has gone into fueling the growth. Now, when we get into some of the Gen AI expertise, this is something that you'll see in the product, but it's also something we've used internally for things like creating documentation or materials that support our customers for learning and training on the products. It's also something that you can use in the development cycle for helping speed up and deliver things to the market more quickly. So there's a lot of different ways that Gen AI is being experimented with today, not just, of course, by us, but in the broader community as well. And then on the sort of the processing side, something like the GPU technology, processors from NVIDIA and others, this is very similar to what we've done with the ASIC technology over the years, right? It's a dedicated, excuse me, focused CPU that's focused on the very specific function, just like the ASIC was focused from the beginning on speeding up firewall technology and packet processing. When we talk about AI, in terms of the Gen AI or agentic AI, there's really three main categories that's important to recognize. So the first, from an enterprise perspective, the first three things that they want to look for, number one is, what are my users doing, right? Which technologies are they using that might be leaking my sensitive data? So I might have a network operations team or something that is strapped on resources and they find some nice tool that helps them speed up. But if they're taking my internal data and sending it to the cloud from some third-party system, what is that? Where is that hosted? Where's that data going? And is it secure? And so this is one set of products and services that we deliver as part of the FortiGate to help companies understand what their users are doing and is that secure. The second area, which is where we're going to get into the demo, is around the assistance. And this is something where you might have tools and techniques on the products themselves that help speed up a lot of the functions and a lot of the operational challenges that they have. And then the third area that companies are concerned is that, well, if they're delivering products that use AI technology, this could even be their website that interacts with their customers, right? How is that being secured, right? That LLM that sits behind, that's providing the answers and taking in the requests from the users, how does that get secured? And is that data exposed? Is it potentially sensitive data going in there? And how do I verify that it's not giving incorrect type of information? So just very, very quickly on the first part, in terms of the different products and services that go into providing visibility on those applications. This is a set of services across the FortiGate or the client or SASE or other technologies which give you that visibility. What are my users doing? Is it secure? Is there anything that I don't want them using? So I can then go in and prevent access to that and then grant them access to the applications that I want to let them use. The third area is around products and services that help secure the LLMs that customers may be using to deliver products and services. And so this is something similar to a firewall or a web application firewall that sits in front of that service that you're using. So it basically helps to load balance and optimize the requests going in and out of it, but it also helps to secure against attacks happening on it. So if someone is trying to maliciously go into your LLM and poison it or give it bad information, this is a product that sits in front of it, very similar to a web application firewall, but customized specifically for AI and Gen AI technology. Now, let's move on to the demo portion here. So this is an area where, again, think about it in the knock and sock environment. There's a lot of many products in there. They're changing very quickly. When there's something new, you need to get people trained and they have to understand how to use it. Basically, it slows down their daily operations and also how quickly you can upgrade and move to new versions. And so what we look at in this demo is really focus on some of the management and as well as the log analysis and reporting tools, and how can Gen AI help these teams which are strapped be able to do more things with the resources that they have.
Hi, admin. What can I help you with? I can do many things, but I'm only allowed to help with FortiManager tasks.
Hi there. Can you check if any SD-WAN configuration is present on my system right now?
Of course. Let me direct you to the SD-WAN overlay templates page to check. It looks like presently there are no SD-WAN configurations.
Okay. Can you show me what devices are managed and their geographic location?
Certainly. Let me take you to the SD-WAN monitor page so you can see how it looks and review the current location of all managed devices.
Okay, so this is pretty basic so far, a little bit of interaction. I got a chat bot on there, right? For an IT admin, this is something where maybe I don't know the product that well, so it can help me navigate around, find the things that are useful, and then show me the information back. But let's see if it can actually help to set up something for me where it's configuration related.
Great, thanks. I have an SD-WAN topology diagram that I drew a while ago. Can you help generate an SD-WAN template to deploy?
I can definitely help with that. Please drag and drop your diagram to this window so I can review it. This is what I read from the diagram. Are these details correct to proceed?
So now even a sales guy can be an IT admin, right? Heavy? Yeah, so okay, let's assume this is correct. Obviously, you would verify it.
Yes, confirmed. Please proceed.
I have created the SD-WAN deployment configuration based on your diagram. I have saved the configuration in the SD-WAN overlay template table. Please review it, and when ready, I can help you install the configuration.
Thanks. Please go ahead to install the configuration.
Installing configurations to devices. Configurations have been successfully installed to the devices. I am redirecting to the SD-WAN monitor page so you can monitor the setup.
Okay, so there's obviously a lot of things that can go wrong, right? So in this example, we obviously injected something which was incorrect, right? Because one of the other things, not just setting up the configuration, is when there is a problem, how do I diagnose it? And this can be even more time consuming than building that original configuration.
Oh, it looks like there's a problem with branch 1. Are you able to diagnose the connectivity issue?
Certainly, from investigation I found this. The problem is caused by the admin status of interface port 1 on device BR1 being disabled. To resolve this issue, I recommend the following action plan. Would you like to proceed?
Yes, please proceed.
I have enabled the admin status of interface port 1 on BR1. Installing configurations to device. All done. Please verify the VPN status.
Okay, so it was able to help us diagnose it, and now at this point we've kind of got that initial network up and running, right? The next thing, which I mentioned, touched on briefly earlier, is around something like SASE technology. So this is something where I've got the network set up, configured. Now I want to let my remote users to be able to auto-connect to that network and access the applications behind it. Again, this would typically often require specialized expertise, log into a cloud system somewhere, and then start manually configuring both ends of this to make it work. So with Fortinet, with FortiSASE especially, it's the same technology that we've used to implement the SD-WAN network. So what that means is that it's the same OS behind the scenes, so it's able to basically connect together very easily. And of course, the AI technology is something that it knows now how to do that, and it can actually help to do that as well.
Perfect, it's working. Next, I'd like to enable SASE for remote access to this network. Can you enable the FortiSASE connector?
Okay, I found an active SASE instance under your account. I've enabled the connector to it. Here are the current deployment details.
Okay, so it found it, put it on the map, but it hasn't actually connected it yet, so we'll go ahead and let it to help do that.
Okay, can you please connect these SASE nodes to my SD-WAN network?
Okay, will do. I can also synchronize the security profiles deployed for on-premise SD-WAN users to the SASE users. Would you like to include those changes?
Yes, please go ahead.
Installing configurations using FortiSASE connector. Okay, I've updated all SASE configurations. DLP, AV, and 10 other security profiles are now active on your FortiSASE instance.
Thanks, it looks correct. To simplify the map view, please mute all tunnels which are performing correctly.
Okay, I have changed those links to light gray color.
Perfect, thanks for your help.
You are welcome. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask. FortiSASE AI Alert. A new remote access connection to the SD-WAN network without zero trust protection has been detected. Here's a summary of the remote access connection: connecting from Berlin, connecting to the Frankfurt POP, accessing an application located in the Geneva branch. Recommendation: would you like to enable these changes?
Okay, so usually at this part, interestingly enough, the most comment I get is not, hey, this AI stuff is great. It's like, can I customize that alert noise, right? So the answer is yes. You can choose from Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That's it. But this example does give another case, kind of exposes where AI can be really useful. Obviously, it's alerting me that something is wrong, but it's also a case of something like zero trust access, where I might have thousands of users connecting to many different applications that are spread, in lots of locations. For my IT team to actually recognize that certain users are not accessing securely, this is a ton of data that they have to sift through and dig through. And this is changing all the time, right? The application might be moved somewhere else, the user's connecting from somewhere else through a different tunnel within the network. How do I know that this is all secured in real time? And something like GenAI can obviously help taking that output data, analyzing it, and giving really actionable, meaningful insight into it.
Okay, please enable zero trust.
Of course, it's a bit more complicated.
Installing configurations using FortiSASE connector. All done. If you need anything else, feel free to ask. FortiAI Ops Alert. Urgent Wi-Fi connectivity issue at Branch 1. Would you like me to query FortiAI Ops?
Okay, so FortiAI Ops is a separate product, but in this case, it's connected to my management station. What it does is essentially it monitors the output from the wireless network in this case and sees if there's some problems going on in the wireless network. I think we all have this problem in our daily lives where the Wi-Fi is slow, right? This is a tool that's supposed to do that. But by connecting it into the same management station with AI, we can now leverage that connection to be able to actually proactively recognize that and then take some actions.
Yes, please retrieve the analysis of this location from AI Ops.
Issue analyzed by FortiAI Ops. Issue: too many interfering APs, 9 on channel 36, significantly contributing to over-channel utilization 90% and availability.
Okay.
Are you able to fix this?
Yes, I can enable DRP on the APs managed by BR1 to optimize it. Note this will take a few moments and disrupt client connectivity to those APs temporarily. Do you want me to proceed?
Yes, please proceed.
All done. Channel interference looks to be stabilizing.
Perfect, thanks.
You are welcome. If you have any further questions, feel free to... FortiAnalyzer AI alert. New incident regarding a slow server at 172.16.88.23. Would you like to investigate this?
Okay, see, I told you you could customize it, right? Now, before we go to the next section, maybe just quickly recap so we can see the difference to the next section. So a lot of this that I've shown here, this is kind of, let's call it version 1.0 of AI, right? I'm interacting with it, I'm asking it questions, it's giving me the answers and helping me to go step by step, right? So what we've seen is obviously it's able to help me navigate around, maybe do a little bit of training of my ops team. It's helped me to push some configuration, build some configurations based on a diagram, to troubleshoot some issues that were in the network, and then connect SASE, enable zero trust, and finally, monitor and improve the wireless network as well. So these have all been, obviously things that would require my ops team to really be trained on each of these functions to know how do I diagnose these problems, what's the configuration I need to build. And so it's something that AI is already helping a lot of people to learn very quickly and also to be able to do way more than they could before with the same set of resources that they have. Now, in that previous example, you have to ask yourself, well, why did I have to ask AI to go and get the information from AI Ops in that case, right? Shouldn't it just know, okay, I got an alert, shouldn't it just know to go and get the information? And so this is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about agentic AI. And I assume maybe not everybody's familiar with exactly what agentic AI is. So I went to Google's AI and I asked it, what's agentic AI? And this is what it told me, right? It's basically, can you take the output of one action, analyze that, and then determine what's the next step to do? Now, you wouldn't want to do this all the way to the end of actually pushing a change, but you might do it in a sequence of steps that help connect together many of the steps which I just showed. Now, in the next sequence, we're going to see basically it doing exactly that, which is more related to a security incident. So something happens, there's a slow server in the network, what's going on, right? You can imagine the SOC analyst, what they need to do to log into all the different systems and figure out the problem, right? So the agentic AI is going to help us to basically do many steps together and then give us a report back. Then we can basically take an informed decision and take some action.
40 AI, can you help me to fully investigate this incident?
Sure, let me start the investigation. Incident summary. The slowness was due to a Monero miner C2 connection. Attacker used a brute force login to access the server and spread to other endpoints. Recommendations. Quarantine infected systems. 2. Block malicious traffic. 3. Enforce multiple factor authentication. 4. Patch the vulnerable systems.
Okay, so that music was inspired by Blues Brothers, of course, if you guys are familiar with that movie. Now, there's a lot of things here that it's showing, right? Like, that's a lot of information that it's telling me based on what it dug out, right? So basically what I'll do is I'll go back and step through it very quickly so you can see what it was actually doing at each step.
Sure, let me start the investigation.
So in the first step, it knows that there's a slow server, right? Basically, it has a ticketing system, and it wants to know what is that IP address. So then I want to log into the actual endpoint management system and look up the details of that endpoint. So if I'm an IT guy, I would have to actually have all the authentication to these systems, log in, and know how to use all of them, right? The second area is, of course, now that I've logged in there, I want to look at what's going on there. So I discover that on this system, there's a slow process, or a process consuming 99% of the CPU. So this could be normal. Maybe it's doing an upgrade. Maybe it's somebody's downloading a large file. Who knows? But I can see that process is connecting to a public IP address. So the next logical step, if I'm in the Security Operations Center, is I want to know what is that IP address? What is that service that it's connecting to? So now I'm going to use some of my threat intel platform to go there and look this up and find out that, oh, actually, this IP address is associated with, in this case, a crypto miner, right? So somebody's installed cryptocurrency miner onto this server, and it's reaching out to that public IP address and causing that slowness. So the next step I'm probably going to want to know is it just this server, or is there any other endpoints in my network that also have this same problem? Is there any other devices connecting to that same crypto miner? And so again, now at this point, if I'm the IT guy, I have to go through the log database, start hunting down, trying to figure out what's going on, and I can find, okay, actually there's, in this case, 3 devices that are connected out. And then finally, what I want to know is this, like, what was the first one that got infected? Because most likely the attacker got into that one and then spread to other ones internally that caused the infection. And so now basically I've kind of figured out which was the first one, and that it got in through a brute force attack in this case, because I inspected, basically the AI inspected the authentication logs to see that, that happened. And finally, we reached a stage where now, we have basically a good summary report of what happened, how the attacker got in, and what's going on. What do I need to do to repair it? And so before taking action, obviously, the AI is not going to just go out and start wiping systems or formatting things. It's going to actually give a full incident report that obviously the SOC analyst is going to
Incident
provide
summary.
to his
The
boss,
slowness
right?
was due to a Monero miner C2 connection. Attacker used a brute force login to access the server and spread to other endpoints. Recommendations. Quarantine infected systems. 2. Block malicious traffic. 3. Enforce multiple factor authentication. 4. Patch the vulnerable systems.
And so the last maybe thing to comment that people always ask is, well, where does the AI stop, right? So in this case, obviously, we put guardrails in place because we want it to be very, very useful for doing that investigation, giving the information back, and then providing the report so that I know as the IT guy what to do. But we don't allow it to go to the next step and just start making changes to my network. This is something that obviously is controlled. And the other, I think, comment people usually ask is around, okay, for this type of investigation, did you send all of my log data to the cloud, right, to be investigated? Well, the answer is definitely not, because first of all, that would be way too expensive and would be very, very time consuming to do that. In this example, actually, no sensitive data leaves the device. This is done locally on in this case, it's a 4D Analyzer product, but it's basically, what it leverages the AI for, the LLM in the cloud, is to say, how do I do X, Y, Z? So how do I look up the endpoint information? How do I do this? And it basically gives it back the instructions that says, okay, go run this query on the database, connect to this other system and retrieve this information. And then all of that is happening locally. So there's no actual sensitive data at all leaving the device to be able to do what we just saw in this demo. So it's one of the things that people always ask because it's very, very unclear, and obviously the AI technologies are changing rapidly today. Last point maybe to mention is, we looked at really two products here in the middle section. This is, a feature component that's coming in many, many different products, because obviously all of the different products we offer are very, very complex, a lot of different, training required. And so this is an AI assistant that's basically built into many products already, and more coming soon as well. So. With that, I'd really like to thank Foreseeson for having us today. Hopefully this has been interesting and see how AI is being used in the products. And enjoy the day. Thank you very much.